Now, broadcasting from behind enemy lines, deep in the trenches of the Patriot resistance, leading the charge in the battle for liberty, this is the Jayson Veley Program.
Hello, my friends. Jayson Veley here. You're listening to the Jayson Veley Program. Hope everybody had a fantastic Easter, or if you don't celebrate Easter, had a fantastic weekend nonetheless. Glad to be back. Happy Tuesday. The email address, if you want to get in touch with me, the Jayson Veley Program at gmail.com, the Jayson Veley Program at gmail.com. We also have a number that you can call and leave a voicemail. 860-266-2852 is the number. 860-266-2852. If someone picks up and it is an automated British lady who says, please leave your message after the beep, then you know you have the right number. I got a question about that on TikTok a couple weeks ago. Hey, I tried calling this number and I got an automated voice of a British lady. Is this the right number? The answer would be yes. So there you go. I didn't make it, but that's what we have. That's what we're stuck with. That's our voicemail receptionist. Ladies and gentlemen, I was doing show prep earlier today. And the way I do show prep, the way I tackle it is this. I just kind of sift through different conservative news sites until something catches my attention. Until I see an article that I think needs to be talked about or a topic that needs to be addressed in depth on the radio program. And so as I was kind of sifting through different websites today, kind of getting caught up on the news, I noticed something. As a matter of fact, this is something that I've noticed before. It's not really anything new, but I realized that I hadn't really discussed it on this radio program. Have you noticed that the liberals are still talking about Donald Trump? They're still talking about Donald Trump almost obsessively. It's a little creepy if I'm being completely honest. The man hasn't been in the White House for, how long has it been now? 2 months? Almost 3 months? He's a private citizen now. His presidency is over, unfortunately. His 4 years as president of the United States, over. He's no longer the leader of this country. And yet the liberals, it's really amazing. In the media, different liberal columnists and so on and so forth, obsessing over the man. Obsessing. Donald Trump really is living in their heads rent-free. He really is. And like I said, it is. It's kind of creepy. Because it's like this strange obsession to critique the man or follow his life or pay attention, close attention, scrutinize everything the man says. It's a little odd, if I'm being completely honest. Now, you'll notice that while they're busy still focusing on Donald Trump, they have no interest in addressing what's going on with Joe Biden. They have no interest, really, in critiquing or criticizing Joe Biden for his handling of the southern border, which is a complete disaster. They have no interest in talking about Joe Biden and his reckless spending. $1.9 trillion here, $2 trillion here, infrastructure, Green New Deal, enslaving future generations under piles and piles of debt. The media doesn't care about that. Liberals don't talk about that. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to. But Donald Trump, a man who is no longer president, a man who is now a private citizen, he gets still all the attention. And I think part of it is because of ratings, honestly. I mean, what? I think it was CNN. I think I read a report that CNN's ratings have plummeted since Donald Trump left office. And I could kind of see why. So I think that's part of it, but I think another part of it, honestly, is liberals just have this weird obsession with Donald Trump. So that's what's going on. Let me give you a couple of examples. Again, when I was doing show prep, these are the stories that made me kind of think about this and made me want to get deeper into it. First of all, The View. Our friends on The View. Now, let me tell you a little something about this this joke of a television show. I've said before that I don't know what kind of people out there actually sit down and get enjoyment out of seeing these 5 liberals. Yes, I know Meghan McCain, she's technically a Republican. She's really not. I don't know who gets, who gets entertained by this. I don't know who enjoys watching this kind of content. For me, when I have to watch video clips of it or what have you, it's kind of similar to hearing fingernails streak down a chalkboard. It's kind of similar. It really is. Or, kind of when you go to the beach and you just hear a ton of seagulls squawking, that's what it's like too. So I don't know who likes this show. I don't know how they're still on the air. Blows my mind. But anyway, we have this show, The View, and on The View we have this nitwit named Joy Behar. Joy Behar. Let me tell you what she said the other day on The View. Reading from Breitbart.com here. Joy Behar told her co-hosts on Monday on ABC's The View that Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida was emboldened by former President Donald Trump during a panel discussion about the federal investigation into the congressman's alleged sexual relationship with a 17-year-old and allegedly paying other women for sex. Now, we're not going to get into that. And we're not going to get into that investigation. Honestly, I haven't really looked too much into it. If this is true, if he was having a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old, the man should go down in flames for it. He absolutely should. But let the investigation play out. More details will come. That's all I want to say on that. Now, what I find troubling here, ladies and gentlemen, again, is the fact that this idiot Joy Behar is saying that Donald Trump emboldened people like Matt Gaetz, who allegedly are taking advantage of women, which is absolutely absurd. Just for context, folks, we have the audio. Again, this is from Monday on The View. Take a listen.
What do you think of this? I mean, is he...
Now, they're talking about the ongoing investigation into Gaetz.
Behaving badly or brazenly? What is all of this that we're hearing?
Well, I just got to snicker at the fact that, Gaetz was on Fox constantly. He almost had his own show over there. He and Tucker were BFFs, apparently. And now suddenly Tucker has short-term memory loss. I wasn't there. I don't remember that. I mean, even Trump is distancing himself, which is a very interesting low bar you have to go.
See, they can't help themselves. They cannot help themselves. They have to bring Donald Trump into this. It's almost like any time you have a story out there about, alleged sexual misconduct or sexual harassment or what have you, liberals have to somehow connect it to Donald Trump. And they always end up sounding stupid as hell, trying to connect the dots. Except, of course, when they're talking about Andrew Cuomo, and then Donald Trump has absolutely nothing to do with it because liberals don't really want to talk about that. Only the Republicans they want to focus on and tied to Donald Trump. Anyway, keep listening.
To be distanced by the twice impeached insurrectionist who's been accused
Twice impeached insurrectionist. Twice impeached. Now, I'll remind Joy Behar that the Senate never confirmed either of those, so he was never fully impeached. What you had was a handful of radical Democrats who voted to impeach the president for absolutely nothing at all. An insurrectionist, she's obviously talking about what happened at the Capitol back in January. This is the word that they throw around, insurrectionist. It's BS, folks. I don't want to get into this again. I've made my views abundantly clear on what happened at the Capitol in January. It was a couple of nut jobs who stormed the Capitol building. The vast majority of people who were there were protesting the results of the election peacefully. They were patriots, and that's it. But no, Donald Trump's an insurrectionist, twice impeached, and he condones and invites this kind of sexual assaults, sexual harassment behavior. That's what we get from the left. Keep listening.
Actual attacks by many different women. So, but you know, it's interesting. One point I would make,
yes,
besides the fact that women never do this, noticeably. I mean, he had a picture of a girl with a naked girl with a hula hoop that he was showing
talking
to
about
guys
Gates
in Congress. This is not something a female would, do. A picture of a naked guy with a hula hoop around Mr. Happy. I don't see that happening. But having said that, right. I really do think that Trump emboldened people like Matt Gaetz. I mean, if Daddy's doing it, well, then I can.
Yeah.
So
this is the argument that they have been using since day one of Trump's presidency, folks. Trump emboldens these people. Donald Trump emboldens the sexists of America. He emboldens the racists of America and the nutjob white supremacists of this country. It's all a bunch of BS, folks. It really is. It really is. I don't think Joy Behar understands how stupid she sounds. And look, her co-hosts can laugh along and nod their heads. Yeah, great point, Joy. Great point. They're a bunch of idiots too, might I add.
There's a reason Trump enables this type of behavior, and he went with it. And I think he's really in a lot of trouble.
So let me ask you a question. Trump enables this. Do you on the left, by that same logic, embolden radical Antifa, radical BLM activists who smash windows and loot and set things on fire? Do you guys embolden them every single time you call Donald Trump a white supremacist? Do you? It's the same logic. Same exact damn logic. Anyway, also on The View, you had, what was her name? They had their legal analyst, Sunny Hostin. I think that's how you say her last name. I don't really care. But she went on to say in the same discussion that Donald Trump has made the GOP morally bankrupt. Take a listen.
Sonny, what do you think this strategy
Can't
could
stand this woman
possibly
either,
be
Whoopi
here?
Goldberg.
What is this strategy?
Well, look, I think this is out of the playbook of the, disgraced former twice impeached one-term president, right? I mean, this is someone who changed the very moral fabric of the Republican Party. The Republican Party is no longer the party of family values. It is the insurrectionist party. It is.
And are you are you Democrats the party of family values, by the way? No, you're not. You're anything but. That's laughable. You might be the party of abortion on demand. Maybe in your discussion on moral bankruptcy, Sonny Hostin, you could, talk a little bit about how the Democrat Party supports the murder of millions of babies throughout the years. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that while you're on the topic of moral bankruptcy. How you guys support Planned Parenthood, late-term abortions, and all the rest. Why don't you talk about that, Sonny?
The party of that's morally bankrupt. I mean, there was a president who, paid off porn stars, who cheated on his wife, who was thrice married, who,
they're obsessed
did
with Donald Trump.
Reprehensible things, and still had these sort of cult-like followers. And his playbook was deny, deny, deny.
Deny. All right, shut up. That's enough of you. They're obsessed, folks. They can't help it. They can't help it. They're still talking about Donald Trump. Now, let me give you another example. I saw this absurd, ridiculous hit piece published by someone in the New York Times. How Trump steered supporters into unwitting donations. Now, I don't know what's going on with my computer, folks. I can't access the article for some reason because it's asking me to put in my email address and subscribe to continue reading for free. I'm not about to do that because really I hate the New York Times, but let me just give you the rundown. because I did read the whole piece, but for some reason it's not letting me access it now, so screw it. This piece, ladies and gentlemen, talked about how essentially Donald Trump allegedly scammed thousands upon thousands of donors out of money. And again, the entire premise is absolutely ridiculous, but to build the argument, they actually said that Donald Trump and his team and his campaign, his staffers, intentionally set up their fundraising efforts online in a way where people didn't know that they would be entering into a recurring payment. And so what happened, ladies and gentlemen, was you did have a few people who donated, for example, $50, and they thought it would only be a one-time payment, but then they started seeing that $50 was coming out of their account every few weeks. And the reason for this was because there was a little box on their website that was automatically checked from the start that said, I want to do recurring payments. And these people didn't know that you had to uncheck that box in order to opt out of recurring payments and make a one-time donation. And so this idiot in the New York Times was using that as an example, saying Donald Trump, they made it extremely difficult for people to opt out of recurring payments. Even though it was completely possible and doable on their website, Donald Trump made it incredibly impossible, difficult for donors to do this, and therefore he was scamming people by tricking them. That's the premise of it. That's the rundown. I wish I could read the entire thing. If you guys have access to the New York Times, I encourage you to do it. How Trump steered supporters into unwitting donations. I don't know if you're subscribed. I'm not. I don't really care. I'm not about to do it now. But that's the rundown. Just know that it was an absolutely ridiculous, absurd hit piece on Donald Trump. And by the way, they even admit in this New York Times article that the Trump team sent out refunds to all the people that felt scammed. They sent out thousands upon thousands of dollars in refunds, which, okay, yeah, maybe it was a stupid mistake, but they sent out refunds. They corrected the problem. So I don't really get the issue here. This is a perfect example of a liberal columnist trying to make this kind of like a bombshell story out of nothing at all. Nothing at all. And that's how these damn liberals operate. They continue to attack Trump and his supporters, calling him, a scammer, calling him racist, calling him sexist, calling him a white nationalist. The supporters are deplorables, to quote that witch Hillary Clinton. On and on and on. So I got to thinking. You have The View talking about Donald Trump. You have this hit piece in the New York Times. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, you turn on, a liberal news station, you're bound to hear them talking about Donald Trump still. So I got to thinking, why? Why? What is this all about? Folks, the fact of the matter is, these liberals are absolutely terrified of Donald Trump. They're terrified. They don't know what to do. They know that even though Donald Trump is no longer president, he still has and is having a tremendous impact on the conservative movement. He is still an inspiration. He is still very much leading the Republican Party. And that terrifies them. Because when Donald Trump was president, we saw success. The conservative movement was successful. Liberalism was exposed and in many cases defeated. with Donald Trump leading the Republican Party. Donald Trump is a threat to everything that they stand for, to everything that they want to accomplish. Donald Trump's supporters, same thing. We are a threat to them. And that's why they constantly talk about us and Donald Trump. That's why they constantly smear us even after Donald Trump has left office, because they're scared as hell. They're scared as hell of what we can do. And you know what, folks? They should be. They should be. They should be. That's why I'm so happy that Donald Trump is, even though he's a private citizen now, he's not backing down. He's going to continue the fight. He's keeping his foot on the pedal, so to speak. He understands that they're terrified. He understands that he is a threat to them. He has broken down the liberal barrier and started the process of exposing them and advancing conservatism. And because he understands this, he knows that he has to keep it up. I'll be right back.
This is the Jayson Veley Program.
Conservatives. How many times have you been called a racist by someone on the left? What about sexist, bigoted, homophobic, xenophobic, right-wing radical extremist? These are all buzzwords that liberals use as a means of labeling conservatives as something that they're not. And let me tell you something, I, like most of you, am getting pretty damn sick of it. That's why I started my own conservative comedy series, Living with a Liberal. Hosted on the popular video sharing app TikTok, Living with a Liberal features two fictional characters, played by yours truly, whose political differences could not be more obvious. It's a comedic take on the modern-day liberal Democrat, because if they can brand us as racists and bigots, we can brand them as triggered, oversensitive snowflakes. Check out Living with a Liberal today on TikTok. Just search Jayson Veley and you'll be taken right to my homepage. I have over 100 episodes on there, so you won't be short on content anytime soon. Enjoy. Are you a pissed off liberal that wants to give me a piece of your mind? Or maybe you're a conservative that simply has a question or comment? Either way, you should know that there's a few different ways you can reach me. Feel free to send me an email at thejaysonveleyprogram@gmail.com. Or if you prefer, you can also call the show number and leave me a voicemail. 860-266-2852. Be sure to provide your name and where you're writing or calling from. Thanks a lot. I look forward to hearing from you. You know, you'd think by now that liberals would have learned their lesson, right? You'd think by now they would completely understand that these smears, these attacks, these lies that they spread about Donald Trump, the way that they try to brand him and his supporters as racists, sexists, all the rest, homophobes, these attacks don't work. They never have worked. They've been doing this, folks, since Donald Trump stepped foot into the Oval Office. Since day one. Hell, even before he was president. They've been smearing this man, dragging him through the mud with lies, falsehoods, ridiculous accusations, saying Trump emboldens white supremacists and sexists and all the rest. It's ridiculous. You know it's ridiculous. I know it. But they, for some reason, still don't get it. Those on the left. They don't understand that these attacks don't work. As a matter of fact, I think there's a case to be made, and I'm sure many of you would agree with me, that whenever the liberals attack Donald Trump like this, call him a racist or what have you, Donald Trump's base grows even closer to Donald Trump, supports him even more. Not because, we want to support racism or racism, quote unquote, or sexism, quote unquote, but because we know, that is Donald Trump's base knows, that these accusations are BS. They're BS. And we want to stand with a man, Donald Trump, who is a victim of these smears and left-wing attacks. I mean, the liberals are helping Donald Trump, and they don't even get it. They don't even realize it. If they did realize it, then they'd stop. But they go on. They just keep going on and on. I mean, think of it this way, folks. Can you name for me one left-wing attack campaign launched at Donald Trump that has crippled his base, that has created separation between Donald Trump, the man, and Trump's base? Can you name one campaign launched by the left that has done that? I can't. Hell, if these campaigns launched by the left, these smear attacks and so forth actually worked, Donald Trump's base, there would be no base anymore if they actually worked. But they don't work. Donald Trump's base is like a rock. It's not going anywhere because we see through the lies. We see through the BS, the smears and so forth. We see right through it. And in almost a comedic sort of way, the liberals don't know that we see through it. Saw this audio clip of this brief conversation between Brian Stelter and Jim Acosta, Dumb and Dumber, on CNN the other day. This was from April 4th, so I believe Sunday. And they were talking about, their struggles with what they call post-Trump stress disorder. Just thought I'd play this for you. A quick conversation between two left-wing idiots, Brian Stelter and Jim Acosta. Take a listen.
Hey, I'd love to hear from both of you how D.C. journalists are adjusting to the Biden era. Jim, this is your first weekend anchoring here on Saturday and Sunday afternoons. Do you feel like your rundown, your lineup is really different than it would have been in the Trump years?
When you're asking me if I was run down, I thought you were referring to how I felt during the Trump era. No, I think that, listen, I think we're all dealing with some post-Trump stress disorder. Other than that.
No. You are dealing with post-Trump obsessive disorder. That's what you're dealing with. You and your liberal buddies are obsessed with the man. In fact, I would argue that now that he's not in office anymore, you don't know what the hell to do. You don't know what to do. You can't really talk about Donald Trump as much as you'd like because Donald Trump's not president. You can't really talk about Joe Biden because, well, he's your guy. You support him. He's a Democrat. He's a radical leftist. You got to support radical liberal causes, right? You can't talk about, for example, on CNN, how Joe Biden's destroying the southern border or destroying this country from the inside out, spending trillions of dollars and so forth. You can't talk about that. So what are you going to talk about? Brian Stelter, Jim Acosta? What are you going to talk about? Yes, you're obsessed with Donald Trump because he got nothing else. He got nothing else. Keep listening.
Easter, as he was saying in those statements a few days ago. Listen, as Annie was just saying a few moments ago, there are questions about why aren't Republicans getting on board with these Biden proposals. There were Republicans who were getting on board with overturning the election just a couple of months ago. And so we shouldn't have high expectations for that. But in terms of
Yes, you shouldn't have high expectations for many of us in the conservative movement to get on board with policies and proposals that would destroy or fundamentally transform our country. Don't expect us to do that. Don't expect me to ever do that. I will never get on board with this kind of crap. I see right through it. The spending, the enormous tax hikes and so on and so forth, the disastrous foreign policy. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. the gutted immigration policy that was really stellar under Donald Trump and is now just in shambles. I'm never going to get on board with this kind of crap. And I would go out on a limb and say that many Republicans agree with me. Now, you'll have some on our side, Mitt Romney's, the Mitch McConnell's even, who will occasionally cave to this sort of crap. But as for Donald Trump's base, conservatives, no, we're not going to get on board. And it's not because, we're still pissed off about the results of the election. Oh, these guys are just trying to overturn the results of the election a couple months ago. We can't really expect too much. No, let me tell you something. Even in 2 years, in 3 years, 4 years, doesn't matter. We are never going to get on board with this agenda. We are never going to cozy up to Joe Biden and what he's trying to do to the country. Don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up.
Shows and what comes first and what comes second. Brian, you and I both know this all too well. We did cover the news before Donald Trump came along, and we did it pretty well.
No, you didn't cover the news. Let's be clear. You didn't cover the news. You attacked Donald Trump. You attacked conservatism. You were a pawn for the Democrat Party. You were an appendage of the Democrat Party. Didn't report the news. You lied. You fabricated stories. You smeared innocent people. That's what you did. That's what you did.
There's going to be plenty of stuff in the news out there, and it doesn't have to have Donald Trump in the headlines for us to continue to exist, especially when he's putting out these statements. When he was president, he was doing things that were beneath the office of the presidency. Now he's doing things beneath the office of the post-presidency. He's not going to change, but we need to change with the times.
Right, he's still saying...
But you're not changing with the times. You're still talking about him. You're talking about him right here. New York Times just released a big hit piece on Donald Trump. The seagulls over there at The View squawking away talking about Donald Trump, saying that he emboldens, sexual harassment and sexual misconduct and all the rest. You're obsessed with the man. You are. It's a little creepy. I'm just saying.
Robbed. I don't think anybody's listening except for the hardcore base. But it is important to note the big lie is still alive and well in the pro-Trump bubble. I can feel like it went away after the riot when, reality reared its head. But no, the lie is out there in the pro-Trump bubble.
The riot. They call what happened at the Capitol a riot. Meanwhile, they won't call BLM activists rioters or looters. They won't call Antifa that, but they'll call, millions of patriotic Americans rioters because of what happened at the Capitol when a few nut jobs stormed the Capitol building. And they report the news. What a joke. They say, we've been reporting the news for several years now, several years before Trump became president. No, you've been lying through your damn teeth for several years. That's what you've been doing. All right, let me shift gears here. Rachel Levine is in the news again, who is Joe Biden's assistant health secretary, transgendered, the first transgender official confirmed by the Senate, as far as I understand it. Rachel Levine, this individual, who biologically is a male, and so I refer to him as such, is a complete radical. I would say one of the more radical people in Joe Biden's cabinet, if I'm being honest. His views, particularly on young children's, minors' ability to get sex-changing drugs and surgeries, is something that I wouldn't even thought existed on the fringe of the left-wing Democrat Party, but apparently it does. Apparently this sort of thinking has a place not only within the Democrat Party, but within Joe Biden's administration. Listen to this from Breitbart. Rachel Levine, Assistant Secretary of the Biden Department of Health and Human Services, criticized efforts in some states to ban minors from obtaining transgender drugs and surgeries, saying such bans constitute a, quote, health equity issue. So Rachel Levine takes issue with states trying to pass legislation banning minors. Again, we're talking about children here. People who are younger than 18. Little girls, little boys. Obtaining transgender drugs and surgeries. Rachel Levine thinks they should be accessible to minors. I mean, am I crazy for thinking this is completely radical? Completely sick? I don't think I am. I hope you listening out there would agree with me. God knows many on the left apparently don't. For some bizarre reason that I'll never figure out. During an interview last week with NPR, transgender Levine said bills banning young people from accessing drugs such as puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones and transgender surgeries such as elective double mastectomies. Sorry, I lost my place there. As well as bans against males competing in women's sports are all really challenging to see. So Levine also had to throw in the initiative taken by many states across the country now to ban biological males who consider themselves females from competing in women's sports. Levine, born Richard Levine, said these transgender issues are not political, but very appropriate to address by one of the nation's top health officials. I don't see it as a political issue at all, Levine said. I view this as a health equity issue. This is about fairness and equality and about specifically health equity, which is part of my portfolio. So I don't see any risk in terms of politicalization of this issue. Well, you're certainly making up a political issue, but even more than that, I think this is a moral issue. I think the argument here is it comes down to what's moral and what isn't moral. Right? You, Rachel Levine, believe that minors should be able to access sex-changing drugs and surgeries, which I think is let me put it this way. If you're a parent and you allow your child, I'm talking about a minor here, to undergo sex change surgery or to take sex change drugs, I think that's a form of abuse. I really do. I really do. And I think those parents should be held accountable. I don't blame these states out there that are taking action to prevent minors from undergoing sex change surgery. I don't blame them one bit because this is sick. This is twisted. Now, when these children turn 18 and they want to mutilate their bodies or undergo sex change surgery or what have you, by all means, they're legally an adult at this point. Go for it. But as far as minors who don't know the risk, who don't really understand what they're doing to their bodies, who in many cases grow up to regret doing this to their bodies, to allow them to do this, and for you, Rachel Levine, the assistant health secretary, to endorse this sort of action, or at least endorse minors having the option to do this to themselves, I think is disgusting. I think is absolutely disgusting. And I think you should be ashamed of yourself. This is a moral debate. It really isn't political, to be honest. It's a moral debate. That's what it is. I don't know why more people aren't talking about this, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't. I don't know why Rachel Levine isn't causing more of a stir among the Republican Party. Again, I really believe that he is one of the more radical individuals in Joe Biden's administration. It doesn't get much more radical than that. We played audio, I believe it was last week, of Rand Paul questioning Rachel Levine during the nomination process before he was confirmed as Assistant Health Secretary. Rand Paul was straight up asking, hey, Rachel Levine, do you endorse minors getting sex change surgery or having access to it or having access to, sex change drugs and so on and so forth? No answer. No straightforward answer. And there's a reason for that. And now we see in an interview with NPR, big surprise, saying that, we need to act in the interest of, what was it? Health equity and fairness and equality. That's what this is all about. Criticizing bills that are banning young people from accessing these drugs and puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, transgender surgeries. Why would you criticize bills that prevent minors from doing that to themselves? Why would you do it? I don't know, folks. This Rachel Levine, I think this is someone that we really need to keep an eye on. This is a very, very sick, dangerous mentality that Rachel Levine has. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Conservatives. How many times have you been called a racist by someone on the left? What about sexist, bigoted, homophobic, xenophobic, right-wing radical extremist? These are all buzzwords that liberals use as a means of labeling conservatives as something that they're not. And let me tell you something. I, like most of you, am getting pretty damn sick of it. That's why I started my own conservative comedy series, Living with a Liberal. Hosted on the popular video sharing app TikTok, Living with a Liberal features two fictional characters, played by yours truly, whose political differences could not be more obvious. It's a comedic take on the modern-day liberal Democrat, because if they can brand us as racists and bigots, we can brand them as triggered, oversensitive snowflakes. Check out Living with a Liberal today on TikTok. Just search Jayson Veley and you'll be taken right to my homepage. I have over 100 episodes on there, so you won't be short on content anytime soon. Enjoy. Are you a pissed off liberal that wants to give me a piece of your mind? Or maybe you're a conservative that simply has a question or comment. Either way, you should know that there's a few different ways you can reach me. Feel free to send me an email at thejaysonveleyprogram@gmail.com. Or if you prefer, you can also call the show number and leave me a voicemail. 860-266-2852. Be sure to provide your name and where you're writing or calling from. Thanks a lot. I look forward to hearing from you.
Mike and Crystal.
Hey Mike, have you heard of the Jimmy Z Show?
Yeah, Crystal. The Jimmy Z Show is awesome.
Which topic do you like most?
I like them all. They are all lots of fun. Do you have a favorite?
I just like Jimmy Z. His voice is so hot.
Okay, but what about his politics?
What politics?
The politics he talks about on the Jimmy Z Show.
I never noticed any politics. All I hear is the velvety smooth dulcet tone of Jimmy Z's sizzling, sexy, scintillating voice.
Holy mackerel. The Jimmy Z Show.
The Jimmy Z Show is available on Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, and iTunes.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Jayson Veley here. I do have a voicemail that was left for me late last week that I want to get to in just a few minutes here. I want to respond to it. But first, one more article that I saw that caught my attention on the topic of the whole transgender, sex change surgery, Rachel Levine nonsense. Kind of all in the same bubble here. Breitbart.com, Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf threatens to block GOP effort to keep trans athletes out of girls' sports. So another Nimrod. This is actually I don't believe I've really talked about this topic too much on this program either. But I have very, very strong views on this particular issue. That is letting transgenders biological males compete in women's sports. I think it is wrong beyond belief to allow this to happen. And I would support any legislation from any state that looks to ban this sort of thing. On Tuesday, Pennsylvania's Democrat governor signaled that he would not sign any bill that would block trans athletes from competing in the gender category of their choice. Wolf took to his Facebook page to warn State House Republicans that he will veto discrimination against trans athletes. Quote, "I'll veto this discriminatory ban if it reaches my desk," Wolf said of the GOP-led effort to restrict trans athletes in the state's schools. To Pennsylvania's trans youth, Wolf concluded, "You belong, you are valued, participate in the school activities that make you happiest. I'll be cheering you on." Well, it's not that simple. It's not that simple. Because just because you have a biological man, who identifies as a female doesn't make him a female. I know that's not politically correct to say, but that's never stopped me before. Someone who identifies as a female but is biologically a male is a male. And so therefore, when you allow these individuals to compete in women's sports with other biological females, the biological males are going to perform, generally speaking, better than the biological females because it's biology. It's just the way it is. That's why we have separated male sports and female sports, because there are biological differences. And so what you're really doing, you on the left, is you're putting many women at a disadvantage here. Look, I thought the Democrat Party was supposed to be for women. I thought the Democrat Party was supposed to, stand for women and women's rights and all the rest, but you're really not here. You're allowing biological males to compete against biological females. And 9 times out of 10, the biological female is going to lose in whatever they're competing, track and field or what have you. I mean, I think this is horrible. I mean, my heart goes out to these young girls who are competing in middle school or high school sports, having to go up against, in many cases, transgender individuals who call themselves girls but are really males. My heart goes out to these girls. It really does. And so again, I can't stand this way of thinking. It's not discrimination to say that biological males cannot compete in women's sports. It's not discrimination. That's the way it's been for years. We separate men's sports and women's sports because of biological differences. Nothing really has changed. Except now liberals come along and they want to be all politically correct. And they say that, look, if you go out, this is essentially what they're saying. If you go out there and say, I was born a male, but I identify as a female, I can now compete in women's sports. That's what you on the left are allowing. You're putting so many women at a disadvantage. And I hope you realize it. I hope you realize it. The party that stands for women. Yeah, right. All right, I just wanted to address that. Now let me get on to this voicemail that was left for me late last week from a caller in Colorado named Tucker. Take a listen.
Hello, Jason. My name is Tucker. I'm from Colorado. First off, I wanted to start with saying thank you for having the courage to speak about what you do every week. I really appreciate that. Kind of helps me keep going and remember I got to stand firm in what I believe and not cave to the media.
Let me pause. By the way, I've gotten many comments similar to that one. And what I have to say to that is it's my pleasure. I love doing this, and I'm going to keep it up. Thank you so much for that comment. Keep listening.
Also, I originally found you on TikTok, and I absolutely love everything you've posted on TikTok. And then
Thank you.
I got a question that I hope you might be able to address a little bit. So I've asked some of my friends that are very hardcore Biden supporters, and I asked them why they don't like Trump. And the main things they've said are that he is very anti-LGBTQ+, and he is racist, and that he's molested and raped many, many women. I don't know why that happened. But I was wondering if you could maybe kind of debunk some of those. Tell us which of those accusations are true and which are just the media twisting things.
All right. Well, the short answer is all of them are the media twisting things. Donald Trump's not a sexist. He's not a racist. If he was a racist, he wouldn't have had people like Ben Carson in his cabinet. He wouldn't have done as much as he did for inner city minorities. He wouldn't have worked so hard to get black unemployment down. I mean, you could give example after example. If he was sexist, he wouldn't have as many millions of women turning out to vote for Donald Trump. All of these accusations, that Donald Trump is a sexist and homophobic and racist, they are nothing more than media-driven narratives. That's all they are. There's nothing to back them up whatsoever. Nothing to back up those claims. It's very, very easy to debate like this. By the way, if you're a liberal, it takes no skill whatsoever to just say, well, Donald Trump's a racist and so I don't like him. Well, Donald Trump's a sexist, so I don't like him. Anyone can do that. Any schmuck can say that. But they never have anything to back it up. Nothing legitimate whatsoever. Which brings me to my main point. It's not up to us, Tucker, as conservatives, to prove to them that Donald Trump is not a racist and not a sexist. It's up to them on the left to prove that he is. They're the ones making these accusations. They're the ones that should be proving it. Here's what I'll say. Don't play their game. Don't play their game. It's very easy to fall into the trap of getting defensive. That is, when someone says, Donald Trump's a racist, it's very, very easy to become defensive and say, no, he's not, for this reason, and this reason. And then they say, well, he's sexist. And you're on the defensive again, saying he's not sexist because of this, this, and this. Instead, anytime you hear a liberal say that, you tell them, look, if you want to have a legitimate debate about Donald Trump and his presidency and his policies, I'm happy to do that. But if you're going to, send out these false accusations, these slanderous terms, racist, sexist, then there's nothing we could talk about. You don't have to put up with this. You don't have to put up with this. Don't play their game. Don't fall for it. I learned that a long time ago. You know who I learned that from? Ben Shapiro. Don't fall into their trap. Don't become defensive when they say Trump is sexist or racist. Instead, say, you know what? How dare you for calling this man sexist and racist without any legitimate evidence whatsoever? How dare you do that? Put it back on them. That's what you got to do. That's the best way to handle that. I hope that answered your question. Thank you so much for calling. All right, folks, we're out of time for today. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for listening. God bless, and God save this great nation.